We continue with the episode reading of Alfred Goldberg's Pentagon 9/11 book. This is chapter uh, The Roof Fire, and it's about 3 pages long. So, as firefighters made progress against the interior fires, a new challenge emerged. Earlier in the day, Fitzharris warned Jason Schwartz that a hidden layer, highly flammable old wood under the Pentagon's slate roof might pose a threat. If the wood is ignited, fire could spread rapidly through the roof and affect much of the building. By late afternoon, it was evident that the fire had indeed ignited parts of the Pentagon roof. I'll blow it up a little bit more so you can read it with me. The original pitched roofs, capped by slate shingles, covered the E and A rings and the 10 radial corridors, while the rest of the building had flat concrete roofs covered by a layer of granite chips. The pitched slate roof began from the bottom with a 4.5-inch inverted V-shaped concrete slab supported by columns. Underneath the slab was a 2-inch layer of insulation. Above it, a covering of tar paper on which stood 2x2 sleepers or timbers, 16 inches apart, that had a wooden shearing of random width planks nailed to them. At the very top, 1.25 inch to 3/8 of an inch slate shingles were affixed to the wood below. The open spaces in the shearing sleeper structure made conditions ripe for open combustion, allowing the fire to spread rapidly. And also another thing about the Pentagon, it was undergoing renovation. So wedge one was the last of the wedges to be renovated, which is where the Pentagon is. On the roof line is old horsehair, which was insulation for the roof of the Pentagon. That's why the fire spread so quick. Now, what I'll show you is a video of the fire along the roofway here. And here is the roof, as you can see. Here's the roof line, immediately after taken when flight services crashed into the Pentagon. This is by a passerby. And what you'll see along the roof line is fires that are that are in the back, in the front. Here's the impact area. A little bit more stabilized. There's the generator on fire, as you can see here, down to the corner to the right. And just fast forward. All right, so you see the back line right here. There's a fire over here, right by the fire station. Over here, you can see fires are spreading now along the corridor. I want to say that's corridor 3 or 4. And this is wedge 1. And as you can see, they're trying to put the foam out where the fires are mostly located here. But you can see the fires are spreading. And this is all up on the roof line. The roof line's right up here. What they're not seeing yet is that there's fire trapped in the insulation up here, where the old horsehair is at. They're trying to douse it. And you can see the smoke coming from the back, because the rings are, there's not a ring on the first floor, there's a ring on the second, third, fourth floor, it's not on the first. There's no walls. Pretty straight shot. But you can see in this wide shot here, a lot of smoke from fire down here below. They're trying to contain it, doing a good job. They wanted to get rid of the fire by the generator. And here's the heliport. Now, what they don't realize, if you read the book by Alfred Goldberg, what the fire department from Arlington and Fort Myer didn't realize was that underneath the roof line, fires are spreading. So they went, Fort Myer firefighters went on top of the roof and put holes in the roof so that the smoke can get out and the fire can't spread, and that they finally contained the blaze after 48 hours. and it was an intense fire. Now, remember, at the same time, you had jet fuel all along the first and second floors, third floors as well, electrical wiring. It was a very tumultuous and very dangerous situation. And they had to get hazmat suits to go in there because of chemicals and electrical equipment that was exposed along with water, which makes it dangerous to walk. So they cut up the electrocution of the Pentagon for a bit to contain the damage. The open spaces in the shearing slip structure make conditions right for open combustion, allowing the fire to spread rapidly. With few, if any, stops, breaks the flames that could not jump across in the pitched roofs. The blaze could run freely along the wood layer. Burning between the hard slate and concrete, the fire was difficult to access. Several hypotheses suggest how the wood layer caught fire. The blast may have spewed jet fuel onto the roof, saturating it, though it's difficult to envision how the fuel seeped through the slate layers. Or when the giant fireball rolled over the top of the building, pulling debris, it may have penetrated the roof line. That's another. If you ever look at the security video of the explosion, you could see the burning debris go high above the roof, higher than above the building, and landed even in the courtyard, where some of the eyewitnesses said they saw plane debris land in the courtyard. Another plausible theory is that the collapsed, exposed wooden roof areas of the E-ring, making them vulnerable as the fire intensified and spread upward. In the afternoon, the team searching the fifth floor unsuccessfully attempted to reach the fire. Typically, with the roof fire, firefighters would poke holes in the ceiling and rip the ceiling down, then take a ladder and stick a nozzle up there and put the fire out. But Captain Hose found that this bulletproof building with its concrete decking rendered these tactics useless. The roof fire burned so long because they just couldn't get to it. Crews climbed up the truck ladder extensions or from the fifth floor onto the roof and tried to put out the fire from above. DC Towers 10 used its bucket to ferry equipment up to the roof. Groups of firefighters attacked different sectors. Sometime around 2 p.m., DC Chief Charles Drumming took command of several Alexandria and Arlington companies that worked on one sector of the obstinate fire for a long period of time, he remembered. These firefighters thought the roof had been breached from below, but were not certain where or how. They called on the Fairfax County Urban Search and Rescue Team to use a powerful saw known as the dig bird to cut a hole in the E-ring roof. That's the E-ring roof is the very top. Even with the special tool, this took considerable time. After finding the inner layer of wood and the concrete below, they concluded that the fire was moving along the various extensions of the roof above the crash site. As darkness fell on September 11th, Chief Schwartz withdrew the crews from the roof, switching from an offensive to a defensive strategy. He distrusted the pitched roof safety as a working platform for the fatigued firefighters, since he knew neither the scope of the damage done to the roof nor its soundness. Also, he was uncertain about the structure and composition of the roofing materials, whether there was insulation that might be acting as an accelerant. Danger threatened at every turn. In the dim lighting, one could easily slip on the sloping roof, fall into the wide gaps between the rings and the radial corridors. Until daybreak, firefighters fought the roof fire from the outside with large streams of water pumped up through ladder pipes and large monitor nozzles to try to contain the fire. Not everyone was happy with the decision. One participant likened the standoff to babysitting the fire. An onlooker, Lieutenant Colonel Harold Campbell, found the battle dramatic. He saw outlined against the night sky a fireman standing on a ladder, shooting water down onto the roof. The fire goes away, and he stays up there because it comes right back. It just doesn't go away. By daybreak, the roof fire was still making significant headway. Determined Department of Defense workers who returned to their offices on the morning of September 12th saw firefighters still pumping water to the burning roof. The overnight spraying had done little to stop the flames. They stubbornly kept rekindling. Ultimately, the roof fire did not critically affect the building's structural stability, but the televised scenes of the flames that allowed the world to watch the Pentagon burn overnight made things seem worse than what they were. According to Schwartz, the night of September 11th, Department of Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld kept asking when the fire was going to be out so he could have his building back. A report that Roof fire was approaching critical communication equipment, heightened anxiety. If damaged, defense, command, and control capabilities would be seriously compromised. Fortunately, the firefighters prevented the fire from reaching that far. New crews rotated in. The only way to reach the fire was to open up the roof. In a back-breaking task, the firefighters swung heavy sledgehammers to smash through the slate and wood and put the hose streams into the holes to stop the fire spread. It became a chase. If you put some water in the middle, then the fire is going to go out onto the left. If you put water out to the left, it's going to go back to the right. Once a fire had gotten into the wood in the open spaces, the best thing was to cut it off on two ends. The most viable and safest tactic, although time consuming, was to make trench cuts on either side of the fire to serve as fire breaks, so prevent the flames from traveling all the way around the building. There were hazards. Firefighters did not make the cuts sufficiently far from the wood burning underneath. They could fall through the weakened structure. Fatigued as they were, their judgment could easily be impaired. To avoid risk, they made the cuts well away from the burning areas and then left the fire to burn. This is the area where the impact was, between the cuts. While this may have allowed more of the roof to burn, it kept the firefighters safe. Firefighters continued battling the roof fire throughout the morning and afternoon of September 12th, except when they were interrupted briefly around 10 a.m. by another evacuation order in response to a mistaken warning of an inbound plane. By early evening, for the most part, both the roof and the interior fires had been contained. Like I said, 48 hours. 6 p.m., Arlington County issued a cautious press release stating that the fire department considered the fire controlled but not fully extinguished. It might flare up again. Over the course of the next few days, firefighters mopped up some hot spots on the roof. But the need to do so was minimized when a contractor cleared debris all the way down to the concrete roof base. In the end, fire burned the roof of E-ring between corridors 4 and 5, that's the top levels, as well as the roofs of those corridors, part of A-ring near corridor 4 and part of corridor 3. In succeeding days, the firefighters extinguished small fires caused when residential heat ignited pools of jet fuel that remained in the building. On the 13th of September, TV cameras caught a flare-up of rubble in the collapsed area that Schwartz knew had contained to smolder. It led to a wryly humorous moment when a concerned television viewer in San Francisco called the Arlington County 911 number to report that the Pentagon was on fire again. As Schwartz remarked, the visual was graphic, but the flare-up posed little threat. And that is the end of this chapter. We got a lot more chapters to go in this great and extensive book on the history of the Pentagon, September 11, 2001 by Alfred Goldberg. I'll see you in the next video, everybody. Take care.